They say every neighborhood has a Karen. You know the type, nosy, entitled, and always looking for drama where there's none. But mine, she didn't just complain about lawns being an inch too high or trash cans being left out a day late. No, she decided to take it one step further. She cut the lock off my gate, went into my driveway, and tried to take my Jeep. And here's the kicker. She had no clue that the Jeep she was messing with wasn't just mine. It was also a piece of government property quietly assigned to a federal task force. Now, I know that sounds wild, almost like something out of a movie, but stick with me. Because the way it all unfolded, you're not going to want to look away. I'd been living in this HOA community for about 3 years. It was supposed to be peaceful, family, friendly, and safe. At least that's what the glossy brochure promised when I signed the papers. But from the very first month, there was always one person at the center of every complaint, Mrs. Charlene Miller. Everybody called her Karen. Behind her back, though never to her face, she thrived on confrontation, always holding a clipboard, snapping photos of people's mailboxes, or knocking on doors to scold neighbors for minor rule infractions. For the most part, I avoided her. I had bigger things to worry about. By day, I was just another middle-aged guy in the suburbs. But when the call came, I worked with a federal task force that dealt with organized crime. My Jeep wasn't just my ride. It was equipped with discreet tech, tracking gear, and secure storage for evidence. I never bragged about it, never told anyone. But the Jeep sat in my driveway, locked behind a gate, because I trusted no one with it. Except Charlene decided she knew better. It started with the notes, slipped under my door, tucked in my mailbox, even taped to my gate. Notes that said things like, "Your Jeep is an eyesore," or, "HOA rules forbid commercial-looking vehicles in driveways." I tried to explain. It wasn't commercial, it wasn't breaking any rules, it was just a Jeep. But Charlene didn't want explanations. She wanted control. One chilly morning, after coming off a grueling overnight operation, I pulled into my driveway and noticed something strange. The padlock on my gate looked off, scratched. As I leaned in, my stomach dropped. The lock had been cut clean through, like someone had used bolt cutters. And then I saw her, standing at the back of my Jeep, clipboard in one hand, the other tugging at the latch, was Charlene. She wasn't even sneaky about it. She was muttering to herself, snapping pictures, and then, God help me, she tried to climb inside. "EY!" I shouted, my voice sharper than I intended. Charlene froze like a kid caught with her hand in the cookie jar. She turned, chin high, and said, "This vehicle is not allowed here. The HOA board has decided it's being removed." I laughed, though there was no humor in it. "Removed? By you?" She sniffed. "I rented a tow truck. It'll be here in 15 minutes. You can argue with the board later. This Jeep is gone." My jaw clenched. My hands curled into fists. I wanted to scream at her, but the weight of what she was touching held me back. Inside that Jeep was evidence from an ongoing investigation. Sensitive files, surveillance gear, things that couldn't fall into the wrong hands. "Charlene," I said slowly, carefully, "you have no idea what you're doing. Step away from the Jeep. Now." But she just smirked, like she'd won some neighborhood power play. Rules are rules. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just a neighborly spat anymore. This was bigger, riskier, and far more dangerous than she could possibly understand. Because tampering with that Jeep wasn't just vandalism. It was interference with federal law enforcement property. And as I heard the rumble of a tow truck turning into the cul-de-sac, my heart sank. I knew the next few minutes would change everything. What Charlene didn't know was that by cutting that lock and touching that Jeep, she wasn't just messing with me. She was about to put herself directly in the crosshairs of a federal task force investigation. And the fallout? It was going to shake our quiet little neighborhood to its core. And that's how it all began. The day a neighborhood Karen tried to steal a federal police task force Jeep. The tow truck's brakes squealed as it pulled up in front of my house. Its orange lights flashed across the quiet cul-de-sac, reflecting off neatly trimmed lawns and pastel-painted homes. Curtains shifted in neighbors' windows. People were already peeking out, sensing drama. Charlene practically glowed with satisfaction, waving her clipboard like she was leading a parade. "Right on time," she announced to the driver, pointing at my Jeep. "That's the one. HOA violation. Tow it out." The driver hesitated, glancing at me. He saw the cut lock. He saw the rage simmering in my eyes. "Sir, is this your vehicle?" he asked cautiously. Before I could answer, Charlene snapped. "It doesn't matter whose it is. It's not allowed here. The board authorized me to remove it." Something in me snapped. I stepped between the Jeep and the tow truck. "Touch this vehicle, and you're interfering with federal property." I barked, louder than I intended. The driver blinked. "Federal." Charlene laughed. An ugly, shrill sound. "Oh, please. Don't listen to him. He thinks he's in some spy movie. It's just a Jeep." "Tow it?" I pulled my wallet from my pocket and flipped it open to my badge. The streetlight caught the seal, glinting in the night. "This isn't a bluff. This Jeep is assigned to an ongoing federal investigation. If you so much as hook a chain to it, you're tampering with law enforcement property. That's a federal offense." The driver's face paled instantly. He dropped his clipboard, muttered, "Nope, I'm out," and scrambled back into his truck. Within seconds, the tow truck was gone, its taillights shrinking into the night. Charlene stood frozen, mouth half open, like her brain was buffering. That can't be real. You can't just say you're federal. That's illegal too?" "I don't say it," I shot back, my voice low and steady. "I live it. And now, because you broke into my property, cut my lock, and tried to take my Jeep, you've interfered with a federal investigation." Her face went red, then pale, then red again. For the first time, the queen of the HOA looked rattled. Within 20 minutes, black SUVs rolled into the neighborhood. My colleagues from the task force stepped out, all business. Suits, earpieces, the kind of presence that made everyone peeking from their windows shrink back behind their curtains. Agent Ramirez, my team lead, gave me a hard look. "What's going on here?" I explained quickly. How Charlene cut my lock, trespassed, called a tow truck. Ramirez's jaw tightened. "She touched government property." I nodded. Ramirez turned to Charlene, who tried to summon her usual smugness, but looked more like a deer on a freeway.
"Mom,"
he said, "you need to understand the gravity of your actions. That Jeep is part of an ongoing investigation. You've interfered with federal property. That's not just breaking HOA rules, it's a crime." Charlene sputtered.
"But it's my neighborhood! I was just enforcing the rules! It's an eyesore!"
Ramirez's expression didn't budge. "You cut a federal officer's lock and tried to seize government equipment. That's breaking and entering, destruction of property, and obstruction of justice. Do you understand how serious this is?" So for the first time since I'd moved into that neighborhood, Charlene didn't have a comeback. Her clipboard trembled in her hands. The agents could have arrested her right there. Honestly, a part of me wanted them to. I wanted her to feel the full weight of what she'd done, to finally face consequences for years of bullying her neighbors. But as I looked at her, this woman who thrived on control, now stripped of all power, I felt something else. Pity. Charlene had spent so long playing queen of the cul-de-sac that she didn't realize she'd crossed a line too big to erase. "Ramirez," I said quietly, "maybe we don't need to haul her in tonight. A report, yes. Documentation, absolutely. But an arrest. Let's give her one chance to grasp what she's done." Ramirez studied me, then nodded slowly. "Your call. But if she so much as looks at this Jeep again, she's in cuffs." Charlene's eyes darted between us. For once, she wasn't smirking. She just nodded, clutching her clipboard like a lifeline. The agents left as quickly as they'd come, though the whispers in the neighborhood lasted for weeks. Word spread fast. Charlene had almost gotten herself arrested by the feds. And suddenly, her clipboard patrols stopped. The snide notes vanished. For the first time, our HOA felt quiet. One evening, weeks later, I saw her in her yard. She looked smaller somehow, her shoulders hunched. She didn't meet my eyes, but she didn't scowl either. It wasn't an apology, but it was something, and that was enough. The message that night taught me something important. People like Charlene thrive on control because, deep down, they feel powerless. It doesn't excuse their actions, but it explains them. And sometimes, the strongest move isn't to crush someone. It's to show them the boundary they can't cross, and then offer grace when they finally see it. In the end, my Jeep was safe. The investigation went on, and the neighborhood learned a lesson it would never forget. And as for Charlene, she learned the hard way that rules are one thing, but messing with a federal task force is another. That's the end of the two-chapter story, complete with tension, emotion, and a powerful takeaway message for viewers.